What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to Sportskeeda MMA News. Former UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez might have a fighting chance in his court hearing today. UFC prospect Tony Kelley lit a fire under the MMA world with his unsavory comments about Brazilians during Saturday's card. Tony Ferguson would rather fight former UFC lightweight champion Charles Oliveira than accept the offer to train with him. Cejudo saw a clip of Conor McGregor's boxing form and he wasn't too impressed. And Gregor Gillespie explains why the UFC cut him from the rankings. All this and more on today's edition of Sportskeeda MMA News. If you see any of your favorite fighters mentioned in today's video, make sure to blast that like button. Let's get started. Former two-time UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez has been the unfortunate talk of the town recently, but it looks like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel. Back in March, Velasquez was charged with attempted murder and additional gun assault charges after allegedly shooting a man who was alleged to have molested one of Velasquez's young relatives. After mass support from prominent MMA figures like UFC President Dana White and teammates Daniel Cormier and Khabib Nurmagomedov, the UFC's phrase of justice, "Free Cain," is being repeated by thousands of MMA fans who wish to see him make it out of this. According to Velasquez's defense attorney, Mark Gerardos, there may be some hope. Here is what Gerardos had to say to MMA Junkie about Velasquez's upcoming hearing, which is set to take place in Santa Clara County Hall of Justice in San Jose, California today. The bail hearing is scheduled for Monday, and we're hopeful that he'll be released on terms and conditions that can satisfy the court that there is no threat, which there clearly is not. Based on what I've seen of Cain and what I know of Cain, there is no threat. Velasquez faces charges of attempted murder, shooting at a motor vehicle or aircraft, 3 counts of assault with a firearm, assault with a deadly weapon, willfully discharging a firearm from a vehicle, and carrying a loaded firearm with intent to commit a felony. Velasquez faces 20 years minimum and up to life in prison and faces additional time if found guilty of other counts. Cain Velasquez reigned over the UFC heavyweight division twice, netting iconic wins over Brock Lesnar and a pair over Junior Dos Santos. He retired in 2019 with a 14-3 record after losing to current champion Francis Ngannou and a plague of career injuries. What do you think happens next in the life of Cain Velasquez? Leave a comment down below and you might be featured in tomorrow's video. A lot of drama went down on Saturday's UFC card, the least of which being Alexander Rakic blowing out his knee in the main event. In the featured bout of the prelims, flyweight contenders Viviane Araújo and Andrea Lee duked it out in the top 10 matchup, both chasing flyweight queen Valentina Shevchenko. However, during the fight, Lee's boyfriend and cornerman Tony Kelley, who also fights in the UFC, gave her some pretty questionable advice. Here's what Kelley said to Lee in between rounds. "That's what they're going to do. They're dirty Brazilians and they're going to cheat like that." The cheating Kelley was referring to was an alleged eye poke from Araújo, but Kelley never commented on why he singled out Brazilians. Kelley then addressed his comments on Twitter. "Cancel culture is real. What I said was real and in the heat of battle and in no way had any type of racist connotation meant, but if that's the way you take it, I don't give a So many people quick to say racist, that getting so old. My reference was to a dirty eye poke." Kelley's behavior has prompted reactions from a few MMA personalities, including former UFC featherweight champion Chris Cyborg, who said, "Or you could just apologize and admit what you said was wrong and move forward instead of trying to justify yourself." And Bilal Muhammad, who said, "Okay, that corner work was terrible. Lee keeps dating racists." The number 8 flyweight Araújo would defeat Kelley's girlfriend Lee by unanimous decision. Unfortunately for Kelley, he has a fight booked next month against bantamweight prospect Adrian Yanez, who can now defend his honorary country of Brazil from the man who thinks they are dirty cheaters. Do you think Tony Kelley's comments were racist? Tony Ferguson still has a sour taste in his mouth, courtesy of Michael Chandler's foot back at UFC 274. Recently, former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira offered Ferguson an opportunity to train with him in Brazil. Oliveira's gesture stems from the fact that they both shared the octagon together back at UFC 256, which saw the champion dominate and nearly finish Ferguson. Ferguson noted that his brutal loss has forced him to make drastic changes to his MMA game, but maybe none of those changes involve accepting Oliveira's offer? Here's what Ferguson had to say.
I have to really reflect on what he said, because Truth Box is a very good school, but he is in my weight class. I'm one of the only fighters that he hasn't finished, and I went in there in that fight practicing zero jiu-jitsu. I didn't do too bad. I didn't do as bad as Dustin Poirier and just sitting there laying there. I stayed active and I went for submissions everywhere. I don't know. I got to really think about that one because I see myself competing against him again. And no animosity.
The 26-7 Ferguson has never suffered consecutive losses in his career, but dating back to fighting Justin Gaethje at the peak of the pandemic, he now finds himself on a 4-fight skid. Perhaps Tony's future lies back at welterweight? Meanwhile, the 33-8 Charles Oliveira is 2 fights away from breaking Khabib Nurmagomedov's record for most consecutive fights in the lightweight division after steamrolling Justin Gaethje at UFC 274. Do you think Tony Ferguson should train with the lightweight champion? Apparently, former 2-division champion Henry Cejudo is a boxing coach now, and he has a thing or two to say to fellow double champion Conor McGregor. Recently, McGregor has kept fans on the edge of their seats for his anticipated return after his compound fracture injury sustained at UFC 264 last year. McGregor took to Twitter to upload a video of himself hitting pads and had some pretty interesting captions. Here's what he said: "The McGregor bow and arrows. I'm calling these in association with Bruce Lee. Enjoy." Think of it this way, novices. If someone loads back a full bow and arrow and points it towards your face, what are you doing? I will sink these bow and arrows into the target in live fighting for the world to witness again, but these arrows are different than before. Corkscrewed, knuckles. Henry Cejudo, who has been throwing shots at McGregor all year, watched the video and wasn't impressed with McGregor's technique. Here's what he had to say. Too much wine telegraphs what you're doing, which makes it not believable. Half punch to the front hand to disguise the backhand. It's not about the combination, but how you hide everything with a big surprise. Sincerely the GOAT, Humble Henry. A wise analysis from the man who retired after finishing 2 former champions in Dominic Cruz and TJ Dillashaw, and who dethroned the flyweight GOAT Demetrius Johnson. Now we eagerly await a witty response from McGregor, whose career came to a grinding halt after dropping 2 out of 3 fights in the Dustin Poirier trilogy. McGregor aims to put his 22-6 record and legacy at stake in a monumental return, and he only wants gold. But so does Cejudo. After re-entering the USADA testing pool, Cejudo hopes to make his UFC return against a champion. Maybe to triple weight glory against Alexander the Great? Do you think Henry Cejudo's criticism was valid? While you're still here, subscribe to Sportskeeda MMA and hit that bell. And last but not least, former top 10 lightweight Gregor Gillespie has been removed from the UFC rankings due to inactivity. The 14-1 Gillespie has only fought once in the last 2 years, most recently a come-from-behind TKO victory over the lightweight Diego Ferreira. On a recent Instagram post, Gillespie explained his lack of activity inside the octagon. First, Gillespie reassured fans that he was not cut from the UFC, only the rankings. Then he followed up by saying he isn't going anywhere and it's not the UFC's fault that he isn't fighting. This is what Gillespie had to say. I am and have been patiently waiting for the right fight, one that is going to push me towards the belt. Since Tony Ferguson turned it down like 100 times in the last year, since Mikey Chandler didn't seem too interested in fighting me when I brought it up, and since RDA just turned down the fight against me, which I accepted by the way, I guess Beneil Dariush will have to do. I know you're up and recovering, big dogs, so just give me a 8-week heads up and let's do the thing. P.S. RDA, Chandler, offer always stands. RDA was cool with fighting me on 4 days notice when I was literally on a mountain 7 hours away from home when he needed a last second replacement, but when just offered fight with me since then where I would have had a full camp, he straight up said no. Gillespie's only professional loss came by way of brutal head kick from Eagle FC's newest star, Kevin Lee. Do you think ring rust will affect Gillespie's chances at a UFC title run? That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA news. Here are some of the best comments from today. 10-8 Chandler this round lol. Islam and Beneil here next. Charles will be the best lightweight in UFC history. If you like this video, please like, comment, and share. Your comments could be featured in the next Sportskeeda MMA news video. We always deliver daily content, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out on anything going on in the MMA world. For updates, quotes, and exclusive interviews from all your favorite fighters, follow Sportskeeda MMA on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for tuning in.